You don't have to live in feast or famine. You don't have to take piddly little owner draws when your revenues are really low and then like grab up all the money while you can while the money's there because you had a higher revenue month. Hi everybody, it is Tina with Picture It Personal Finance, where I help solopreneurs and professionals get their money life in order so that they can do work they really care about. My mission in life is to make sure that those of you who have started a business know the financials and figure out great systems for your business so that you can keep at it and not have to go back to a job you left behind for probably very good reasons. And also to help those of you who are professionals get your money life in order so that you can start thinking about that second career that you really want to have. It seems when you are an entrepreneur, you are constantly looking for your next client. You are constantly looking for the next person who can contribute to your ability to feast, right? I talk to so many people who have really irregular payments to themselves. And the reason for that is because they have a lot of irregularity in when they are signing new clients. Now, there's a few thoughts I have about this, but really I want to hone in on what's going to be the final point, which is that feast and famine does not need to be a thing. You can absolutely deal with the revenue roller coaster without having to suffer when you're not making a lot of sales, and then, like I said, have this indulgence when you do have a lot of sales. You don't have to go through the famine, and you don't have to then feel like when the money's come in that you must feast, okay? I, in particular, have experienced this in my business, not the feast and famine part so much as the revenue roller coaster, as I like to call it. I am going to be really transparent with you guys. You know my journey. You've been with me since I started paying off debt all the way through leaving my corporate job and starting this business. And I am coming up on almost a year and a half in business. So it just blows my mind. In the past year and a half, since I have started my business, I have had 1 month where my revenue was, and I do not exaggerate, $171.86. So part of this revenue roller coaster happens because you are going to have ebbs and flows in your business that are natural for your business. And I want you to recognize that and try to figure out what those trends are. So for example, if you're a wedding photographer, plan on making a boatload of money from May through the end of August. That's your season. That's where the lion's share of your income will happen. It'll be wonderful if people give you payment outside of those, but you know that's the time that most people are getting married. As a financial coach for solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, you can believe that I probably am going to remember in future years that February and March are probably going to be really light for me. January, I had some people who were super excited to start off the new year right. And now I'm getting a lot of people coming to me because they have now met with the tax man and they realize it's not going to be as bad as they think it's going to be, or, unfortunately, maybe it's going to be worse and they don't want to live through this discomfort again. And so they want to work with me to get their money life in order and be ready next year. So the main thing I wanted to highlight for point number 1 is revenue comes in erratic patterns in the beginning, and then over time it'll come in a sort of still irregular but trended pattern. You'll be able to see why the money comes in, when it comes in, and learn from that, and then forecast or have a plan for that money down the road. So kind of structure the expenses that you have for your business in a way that you're maybe making some of the larger expenses when the revenues are coming in, or more importantly, if you do have big expenses like I did in February, which is when I renewed my errors and emission, insurance, as well as my cybersecurity insurance. Those were 2 big ticket items because I pay them in full for the full year. So just imagine the hurt I would have had if I hadn't planned ahead for those expenses, knowing that February ended up being a very low income month for me. Point number 2 that I want you to know is that now that I have worked with enough small business owners, I can tell you with full confidence that this behavior, if you are not digging into your money and learning how to manage your money, it's going to happen for you at every level that you go. I have some clients that make $60,000 a year, and I have some clients that make several $100,000 a year. And I have to tell you that the discomfort of big expenses coming during a low revenue month exists at every level, no matter how big your income is, because frequently when you have income that big, you have expenses that sort of mirror that. So if you're $1 million business, you might have $500,000 in expenses. So the bigger you get in your business, you still will experience this like feast or famine mentality if you don't put in systems that will help you get prepared for those times and to better understand when your cash needs to flow. I am all about the cash flow budget and understanding your business's cash flows. Cash management is key for any small business owner to survive in the long term. As a side note for that, I'm going to go ahead and give my bookkeeping friends a shout out. One of the first investments that you should make if you're not willing to do your own bookkeeping, hire a bookkeeper. Bookkeeping is a compliance requirement. You need to have separate accounts and you need to have clear numbers of what you're doing with your business account so that, number one, taxes will be that much easier for you, but also just in case, the IRS comes knocking, you want to know and be able to produce reports that show exactly what you've been doing over the years. A bookkeeper can be such a godsend to you. You need to be able to read your financial reports. They need to be accurate. And that is what's going to enable you to have, number one, confidence that your business is doing well, but number two, be able to see that it's growing and that you're not, increasing your expenses at a higher rate than you're increasing your revenue. That your revenue really is growing year after year. There's that is saying that if your business is not growing, it's dying. And I gotta be honest with you, I think there's truth to that because we are creative people and our businesses are an expression of our creativity and we don't stop being creative. We are constantly being creative and innovating. And if you have stopped doing that, then yeah, you're gonna get passed up, you're gonna be surpassed, and probably you're gonna end up losing some really great clients. So be aware of what your company is doing, be growing in your company, start collaborating with some business buddies and get those juices flowing. And most importantly, build a team of people who can help you keep your books current and understand what's actually going on with your money. The last point that I really wanted to make today is that when you're coping with the roller coaster of revenues, the revenue roller coaster, when you're dealing with that, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to live in feast or famine. You don't have to take piddly little owner draws when your revenues are really low and then grab up all the money while you can while the money's there because you had a higher revenue month. You can use a system like the Profit First system and have that money funneled into another account where then you can pay yourself consistently for a period of time. So for me personally, what I do is I have an owner's pay account. I take a portion of every bit of revenue that I receive and I send it to that owner's pay account. And then from that owner's pay account, I determine how many paychecks do I have in there. So at the amount that I'm paying myself currently for paychecks, I have 4 to 6 months worth of paychecks in there at any given time. I am never paying I always want there to be, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, because I'm at a point right now where I haven't really honed down my messaging and I don't have my ads figured out. These are some of the elements of business that I haven't mastered yet. And because I haven't mastered that yet, I really am still seeing a lot of fluctuations on the number of consultations I receive. So while I'm dealing with this revenue roller coaster, I want to keep 4 to 6 months worth of paychecks in my owner's pay account. Some of my clients are really consistent with their revenue, and so they only keep 2 months worth of paychecks in that account. But no matter what, I want you to have always in your owner's pay account 4 paychecks worth of paychecks, right? So what that looks like is, and I've showed this image before and I'll overlay it in the video, you have a bit of money that comes in from your income account if you're following Profit First. And frankly, I don't have my clients do Profit First exactly, but we borrow those ideas and we make a series of accounts that works for them. But this concept of having an income account that receives all the money, whether it comes from PayPal or Venmo or QuickBooks invoicing or even cash deposits, they go into that income account. And then you take portions of it, percentages of it, and you send some over to tax savings, some over to operating expenses, but absolutely some of it has to go into the owner's pay account. And then this bucket of money You look, how many paychecks worth do I have in here? If you want to have 4 months worth of paychecks, you take the balance in that account, divide by 4, and then you automate a transfer to yourself on the 1st and 15th for that dollar amount. I love playing with the numbers. I love solving these kind of problems. It's like advanced algebra, but it is still algebra. And frankly, algebra is my favorite kind of math. Like, I can't wait for my kids to be in algebra, because right now they're doing fractions and decimals, and that's not my favorite kind of math by a long shot. Anyway, there is a way, I'm bringing it all back to the beginning. There is a way for you to not live through feast or famine. And there are ways for you actually to smooth out the revenue roller coaster. That is stuff that I haven't mastered yet, so I will not be talking about those things on my channel, but I know a lot of that has to do with your marketing and your offer, and really understanding where your leads are coming from so that you can get more of those leads, and figuring out what's working so you can start replicating things. If that's your problem area, you really ought to consider connecting with marketing coaches, or at the very least, take a marketing course of some kind that can help you. But if your problem is the numbers, where you're convinced you're not a numbers person, then by all means, reach out to a financial coach, because we can help you figure that out. And frankly, for some of us, it's a joy. All right, guys, I will leave it at that for today, but it's so great to be recording again. I hope you all are just doing outstanding and so ready for an Easter weekend coming up. Hopefully you guys are going to spend some time with your friends and your families, and I guess I'll leave it at that. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.